Now on BBC Two, Linda Day with this week's See Here.
Hi, I'm Linda Day and welcome to See Here's International Magazine. Most of the clips in today's programme are about ordinary people doing unusual things, sporting things which they've always wanted to do, which is why I'm standing here, outside the See Here offices in the BBC White City Centre. In 1908, this whole area was the site of the sports stadium built for the 4th Olympic Games, when 1,500 competitors from 19 different countries took part. And now for a little bit of useless information. Olympic marathons, as you all know, are 26 miles and 385 yards long. Why those 385 yards? Well, the answer lies here, where the stadium once stood. The competitors started their run 26 miles away in Windsor. When they arrived here at the end of their run, the organisers decided that they should end right under the Royal Box. That meant they had to do one circuit of the track, and that accounts for the extra 385 yards. It's a good story, but it also happens to be true. Now, I'm only telling you all this because there's a link to our first film. I'm sure that most of you will have seen television coverage of the Winter Olympics from Lillehammer in Norway. Just before Christmas, we contacted the CISS and the Norwegian Deaf Video Project to see if any deaf athletes were competing. The answer was no, but there was a deaf connection. Weeks before the opening ceremony, the Olympic torch was carried from Mount Olympus in Greece by a relay of over 7,000 runners on an 8,000-kilometre journey to Lillehammer. And yes, you've guessed it, one of the runners was deaf and blind.
It is the 30th of November, early in the morning, and it's dark. Throughout Norway, people are engaged in running with a torch. This is a relay that started at the end of November, and 15,000 people are participating, including some deaf people. One of them is Harold Vick, who is deaf and blind. This is an experience for life, and really something to remember.
Have you been doing any training before this?
Yes, I train the whole year. I can't just sit at home, it's not allowed. It's important to get out and exercise.
Was it slippery today?
No, not at all. I had no problem at all. I'm not going to fall, and I've never fallen. The reason for that is because I have these shoes. You see, they have spikes on them. So as I'm running, they just grip to the ground. It's absolutely fine. And they're really nice to run with. They're really pleasant. They just grip to the ground, and I don't slide or slip anyway. So they're fine, and they're really nice to run with.
Have you any tickets for some of the events at Lillehammer?
Oh yes. I got a pleasant surprise yesterday when I got 2 tickets for the ski jump competition. And I hope that Norway will win a gold. I got the opportunity to run after a request came from the municipal administration. The letter was unexpected, and I thought it was just a commercial thing. But it actually asked if I could take part in the relay with the Olympic torch. I said yes. I mean, this is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity.
There are many thousands that are running this relay. Do you prepare much before running?
Well, I haven't been running much in the last few years. I've been occupied with so many other tasks. The first training hours were difficult, but by and by it became easier. I also took part in the initial meeting where we got our suits for the running.
Will you go to Lilyhammer and see the competitions there, or will you watch on TV?
Yes, well, I'll try to follow the games as much as I can. And me and my kids have tickets for the men's Grand Slalom and an ice hockey match. These events take place on the same day, so we don't have to go backwards and forwards. We can just go on the one day.
Well, now from a winter sport to a summer one. I'm here at St Catherine's Dock in London, which was built for a much different type of boat to the ones you can see here today. This was actually once the centre of the ivory trade, but thankfully most of that is now over, and the dock is now a leisure craft marina, mostly for boats which cruise up and down the Thames. For many people, cruising means the Mediterranean or the Caribbean. Have you ever wondered what it must be like soaking up the sun on a cruise with just deaf people? Here in Britain, two deaf men organised holiday tours for deaf people. One of them, Arthur Dimmock, did it for 40 years but has now stopped. But the other, Ian Fennell, still arranges them occasionally. In America, Sign Sail recently organised a week's holiday for deaf people. Over 2,000 joined the cruise. Here's a short film of the event.
The concept of having a deaf group on a cruise is nothing new. There have always been small groups of deaf people who would go on cruises. Usually a woman from the deaf club would make a deal with a local travel agency to get a free ticket in exchange for bringing a group of deaf people along. Then she would get her daughter or some other friend who could hear to go along to interpret. The interpreter would think that he'd be able to lounge around once he got there, but instead would find himself overwhelmed by all the interpreting. So he would end up exhausted and the deaf people mad because the interpreting would not be up to par. That's not a professional way to provide travel services. They know nothing about deaf people or their culture. So I tried to provide professional travel services just like a major travel agency, where the tours and cruises are all planned. The customers are treated professionally and they know that they will be taken care of.
I think the cruise benefits both Deaf Star Travel and NFSD. We have shown we could pull it off because we first had to convince the ship's people that we could fill the boat. They doubted we could do that. They thought deaf people couldn't afford to travel, So I told them that deaf people could find the money and could fill this ship at this bad time of the year.
There are over 500 crew members on this ship. Their job is to ensure that our vacation is a safe and happy one. They take care of our every whim, from concocting the perfect tropical drink to turning down our beds at night, all in an effort to make us feel at home. One of the first things you notice about the crew of the Britannis is their diligence. Their day begins long before sunrise and ends well past the midnight hour. As soon as we're seated for breakfast, the crew is already preparing our next meal, one of 8 that will be served throughout the course of the day. The Britannis crew consists of people from more than a dozen countries, and they accept the challenge of serving and learning about other cultures with particular enthusiasm.
Last 2 days before the cruise starts, we had all the staff on board of the Charters, of the Death Star, to be together with my crew and to know how and what we have to do during the cruise. I never met so nice and polite people. I felt that I was going to a different world, and I wanted to learn more and more from them. I never asked them what and how they felt, but all of them, they were very happy to be with us.
I know how the atmosphere of the typical cruise ship is geared for hearing people, and their culture is at odds with deaf culture. So we had to figure out how to get rid of the aspects of cruise life that were inappropriate. We wanted a cruise with deaf culture. Our goal was to have a place where communication was completely accessible, barrier-free. So I looked for people who have had international experience, plus over 12 years experience interpreting, and who know how to interpret not only linguistic information, but cultural information as well. Those are the kind of people who have an internal sense of the culture. We had the entire staff trained together so that the deaf and hearing could start to build a good working relationship.
What an attitude. You know how the first signs many hearing people want to learn are the dirty ones? Not here. They wanted to know words like coffee, tea, iced tea, do you need help, are you finished? Not how to sign this or that dirty word. After a few days, they were starting to ask us how to sign the dirty words, but that's okay, because they had already gotten into deaf culture. They showed respect for us as a group with a culture. That's very important.
Thank you so very much, like this, and say hello. I know everything.
And I think everybody was happy to get this experience, because in your life outside, you don't get in touch with deaf people. I've never spoke to a deaf person before, so it was the first time, and I think everybody was very excited, very looking forward to a cruise like this.
The biggest difference that I have noticed between a hearing and a deaf cruise is the communication barriers or breakdown. We can communicate with each other easily. On the hearing cruise, I discovered that the crew had a different attitude. They tended to nod their heads without helping. The hearing passengers wondered why deaf people were on their cruise, whereas here on the deaf cruise, the crew is enthusiastic to help and to learn signs. That makes us feel equal with them and really makes this cruise our own cruise.
Now I'm on top of Tower Bridge. As I look down, I can see St. Catherine's Dock, along with some magnificent views of the River Thames and various buildings around London. For some people, being high up like this is very exciting, and jumping off even more so. The new craze of bungee jumping absolutely fills me with horror. So I was fascinated to hear of a deaf nun from Ireland who wanted to be a parachutist. Let's take a look.
I was okay. But when it came to arriving here and changing into the clothes, my heart started to pound, my hands to sweat. Yes, I'm nervous.
It's very good and very interesting, and I'd have to listen very carefully, and so after that, hope everything works out well.
Skip. Skip.
Take a parachute and jump. You can't stay here forever when everyone else is gone. Being all alone won't seem that clever. Take a parachute and go. There's gonna have to be some danger. Take a parachute and jump. You're gonna have to take flight. If the wind don't catch you, I will. The wind's not there, I'm here. Don't look out before you. You know it's a long way down. I'll make it safer for you. Your parachute won't let you down. Take your parachute and go. Maybe come back tomorrow. Take your parachute, I am. To stop you ever getting sorrow. And if the winds don't catch you, I will. If the wind's not there, I'm here. Cause the winds might change, and the winds might blow over you.
How was it? Oh, fabulous!
It's good.
Fabulous. God. What was it like? Sensation. You can't explain. You feel it. The air. Oh.
Very fast.
Ooh, air into your mouth.
Is it the best thing you've ever done?
Yes.
Very fast.
Ooh. Yeah. Everything was beautiful from below. Everything looked perfect. I mean, beautiful from above. Everything looked
Lucky few.
The beauty you could see, but you couldn't see the people until it was down close. Yeah, it was fabulous.
Our last item is a bit more serious than the others. Some of you will have seen something about this film, Schindler's List. It recently won 7 Oscars in Hollywood. The film brings to the screen the horrors of what happened to the Jews in the Second World War. An American deaf painter, David Block, has painted pictures about the Holocaust. He went to Germany recently to exhibit his pictures, and our colleagues from Bayerischer Rundfunk sent us this film.
Now, this is David Bloch, and I would like to ask him, when you escaped after your imprisonment in the Dachau concentration camp, what made you decide to flee to Shanghai? Why go there?
Yes, that's a very good question. Times were so bad then for the Jews that there was nowhere to flee to. All escape routes were blocked. There was only this one last chance to get out. I wrote to my relatives in America, who collected money for me, and I had to show this money. Only the money made it possible for me to depart for Shanghai, by boat from Italy. The passage lasted 4 weeks. It was a long but beautiful journey. I was 30 years old at the time.
Just wondering, most of the many pictures that you made in Shanghai are woodcuts. Why woodcuts?
Well, because life in Shanghai is so totally different from life at home. That was what I wanted to record, what I wanted to express in woodcuts. I made more than 300 woodcuts of a great variety of subjects, illustrations. The rickshaws in particular are unforgettable to me. They were unique. You can't find anything like it nowadays. Fundamentally, I was glad to be in Shanghai. It was really the best school for me. There I got to know porcelain painting, I learnt the Chinese script, I learnt a lot about Chinese art and antiques, some of which I collected as souvenirs of China.
Well, you came to America in 1949. Why did you stay so long in Shanghai?
Ah, well, because we had to wait for a visa for such a long time until we finally got it. There was a long queue of applicants, many people. And then at last it was my turn. I got my visa, luckily. Then we could take the boat to San Francisco.